The Gallant Bob is a grade two. It's the 11th race on the Saturday card at PARX. It's run at 6 furlongs for 3 year olds only, and it's the second leg of the Philly Big Five. And we take a look at this field, and it's headed by the number one, numero uno, Ben Tornado. This one is coming second race back from Dubai, where he was a really good third behind Forever Young and Bookham Dano. It turned in to be a pretty good race given what Forever Young and Bookham Dano came back to do. You've got Awesome Rudo, we saw on the Derby Trail in Louisiana for a little while. Maximus Meridius, we saw on the Derby Trail in the Gotham. And so most of these are horses who have run the ungraded or state bred type of stakes in the Mid Atlantic Circuit, Thistledown, Laurel, and of course PARX. So just a couple that to name a few. But it's a pretty well balanced field, save for, in my opinion, Ben Tornado. Now, he is just made his debut, returning, coming back at Charlestown and running in the Robert Hilton. And I thought it was a race where certainly it would be disappointing if he hadn't been coming off such a long layoff, given his past performances. I really like this horse earlier in the year, running at Gulfstream. He just was totally dominant, and they tried to stretch him out, and I guess he had limited results, you could say. But being back at a sprint, he should absolutely love this. And he's definitely the horse to beat, in my opinion. In his comeback race over at Charlestown, now first of all, those are much, it's a bull ring, so the turns are very narrow, and you got three of them for a 7 furlong race, so it's a pretty good race to bring a horse back in. You can get a lot of bottom out of it, but it's not your traditional track. So some horses like it, some horses don't. I don't think that was really the case with Ben Tornado. I just think he was a little rusty. He certainly kicked it off. It looked like at the end of that race he was starting to get it going. So I think he shook off the cobwebs, and I think he'll be ready to bear in this race. And I really like him in this spot. I don't think anybody can run with him in this field, so he's my pick to win this. Bucarino, a lot of these ran in the Salvador de Bond at PARX last time. Bucarino, Sunny Breeze, Maximus Meridius, and Practically Dark, I believe, were all in that race. And Bucarino just, I thought, freaked that day. The fractions were 21 and 44, which is just smoking for PARX. And yet, just when some of the others were kind of backing up a little bit, Bucarino seemed to be gaining momentum, and he just pulled away from that field. Now, I don't know, it wasn't the greatest quality of fields, and Bucarino certainly likes PARX. He is a horse for the course, and he's 3 for 3. But to ask him to do that again, I'm not so sure he's got that in him, and I'm not so sure that he can build off of that race. He would need to, in my opinion, to beat Ben Tornado. This is one of these races. After Ben Tornado, you can use any of them, to be honest. Any of the other seven. I think they're all mix and match for the most part. They all seem to be of similar caliber. It's very difficult to separate them, in my opinion, but save for Ben Tornado. So if you want to use Bucarino thinking he can come back and either build off of that last race, I believe it's second or third off the layoff, then by all means. But I just think it's going to be a really tall order. Maximus Meridius showed a little something in the Gotham. I thought he ran a really good race way back for Butch Reed. And we know that Butch doesn't ship unless he means business. Well, this is kind of his home track, so he's not really shipping here. We could throw that angle out. This is a horse who certainly has quality, without a doubt. But, any horse that, other than Bucarino, who ran in that Salvatore de Bond, I mean, it's really hard to like because a lot of them were just backing right up. Now, Maximus Meridius didn't necessarily back up, but he didn't move forward either. He finished an okay second, I would say. Can he run better? Yeah, he can, but it's not cast in stone. He's just sort of sputtered in terms of his development, I think. But he's a horse that, for a price I certainly could use. Always into mischief. I ran in the Honey J at Thistledown because he's an Ohio bred, and he didn't run a bad race. I questioned the quality of that field. That was a race where he looked like he was starting to back up, and yet he was able to sort of re-rally and stay in the race to get up for second. But you can't really like it as a. I just, it was to me more the quality of the field than it was anything that Always Into Mischief did. So again, another one you want to use him. He's coming from off the pace to get up for a slice. I could certainly see it. But again, as a win candidate, no, I don't think so. Now, if we want to look for a wild card to upset the apple cart and can maybe take this one at odds, I think Awesome Ruda has that possibility. Now, this horse hasn't necessarily gotten much better since the efforts on the Derby Trail, where he was just completely outclassed. He was this year's version of Il Miracolo. And those of you who watch my videos know last year on the Derby Trail, I kept saying, why is Il Miracolo in these races? And to me, Awesome Ruda is kind of the same thing. I just ran in the Patronato Mile, and they've been continuing to run this horse around 2 turns. And I think the cutback to a sprint should make a lot of sense here. It's also a little bit of class relief, not much, but a little bit. And I think those two things elevate Awesome Ruda. Again, a lot of these coming off of what was the Salvatore de Bon. I just didn't think it was that great a race, so this is one of these you can maybe catch a field flat-footed, and I love to root the sprint angle. And I think this is maybe a pretty good spot for Awesome Ruda. And they've been trying to figure out what to do with this horse, and maybe cutting back is the answer. It certainly won't hurt for a horse who's been marginal at roots. So let's cut him back to 1 turn, see what he can do, and this might be a pretty good spot for it. Practically Dark was a horse who was progressively improving down in Florida, and then came up to PARX and crash. Really can't like the Salvador de Bon when you consider all the pace he had to run to for a horse who's a sprinter who comes from off the pace, and he just really didn't do much at all. It was a really disappointing effort. However, it was his first race away from Gulfstream, and I'm very reticent to use horses who come from Gulfstream exclusively because they really don't bring the track with them a lot of times. And this may have been a case for that. But I'll give Practically Dark another chance at a price as a horse who can maybe get up underneath in the try, being a horse who comes from off the pace. I think there will be some pace to run to here. But as a win candidate, no, I don't think so. And that's what the asterisk means, that I think he's more for underneath. Looking at a wagering strategy, to be honest, to me, the value of this race is in the Philly Big Five. And I'm going to single Ben Tornado. Wagering-wise, this is probably a race I would pass on. And let's remember, that is part of wagering strategy as well. Picking races that are a waste of time or you just don't have a strong opinion, or there's no value in it. And I think Ben Tornado is going to come off very short odds in this race. And looking at, again, it's mix and match underneath. I can make a case for every horse underneath to go second to Ben Tornado. So I'll just take 2 that maybe with a price coming from off the pace have a chance to factor in the race. So I'll use Awesome Ruda and Practically Dark, 1-2, 1-6, cold exactas. Aside from that, not much interest from a race perspective, just from a betting perspective in this race. A single for me, Ben Tornado, in the Philly Big Five. That's the extent of my interest, to be honest. And I think it's only fair I tell you that I don't want to hype a race any more than it needs to be, or that's unfair to y'all. I think you look for our postings for honesty, and I hope I'm giving it here. So that's what I think of this race. So I hope it helps you with your own wagering strategy, and I wish you the best of luck as always. And stay tuned for more postings. We got the Cotillion and the Pennsylvania Derby coming up, and we'll have videos for those. And then we'll put it all together for a Pick 5 sequence as well. So again, I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.